Welcome to the OK Let's Learn podcast. This is two podcasts in one. One where we dive into tons of interesting stories and books, and another where we dive into tons of interesting topics. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. So today, let's learn all about Wiffle Ball. Yes, the game that you play with the yellow skinny bat and a white small plastic round ball. And I'm telling you, I'm looking for an idea for our next episode, and I'm just walking through the living room, and of course Jasper, my little dog, he's got wiffle balls all over the place. He loves playing with them, throwing them up in the air. He just entertains himself. And sure enough, before I begin recording this, I look out my front window and my neighbors across the street. What does the one grandchild have in his hand but that yellow skinny bat, the wiffle ball bat? Yes, they are playing wiffle ball. They're throwing it in their side yard, and I grew up playing this game myself. I created my own little fantasy league where I would hit home runs. Yes, it was me by myself in my front yard. The ball would go over into the Germeller's yard, and that was a home run. And then we go to the backyard with my two brothers, and oh my goodness, God bless my neighbors, my other neighbors, the Callios. We would hit it into their yard, and yes, the grand slam would be banging on their porch roof, and it would just they were just so wonderful and so nice, but it would make this huge sound, and of course we'd round the bases. Listen, wiffle ball is inherently American creation, and it's so much of so many of our childhoods. If you love baseball, you're growing up and you're playing this game primarily because when it started, right, it lasted. And it's like Kleenex. Do you think of Kleenex? No, that's tissues, right? Well, if you're playing baseball out in the backyard, you're playing wiffle ball. But as most of us know, in case you didn't, it's actually, wiffle ball is a trademark. It's owned by a private family company that still manufactures the bats and the balls in Connecticut still today. And the story, it begins long before plastic. To understand this game, you have to understand America's love affair with baseball. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, baseball had become the national pastime, right? So kids wanted to play it everywhere. And sometimes it wasn't conducive to going out to a field. Like my father, he played out literally in the street with cars lined up, and you'll see this. Willie Mays used to do this, and years later, he actually, in a famous photograph and a video, he went out there to play with kids in New York City, right? They improvised, right? It was stickball. It was a broom handle that became a bat, and yeah, the rubber ball became a baseball. Fire hydrants, sewer covers, chalk lines became the bases. Entire generations grew up playing baseball in the streets. But bottom line, as we all know, it wasn't exactly safe, right? The ball breaking windows, breaking cars, a lot of tension conventions, line drives. You talk about going into people's yards. So the challenge was pretty simple. How could you create a baseball that works in the backyard? Well, that question eventually led to one of the most successful toys in American history. Yes. And it all begins in Fairfield, Connecticut, where I went to college. Yes, way back from 1980 to 1984, the Fairfield University Stags. But here it was in the summer of 1953, a semi-professional baseball player. His name was David N. Mullaney. And as the story goes, he was watching his 12-year-old son and his friends play baseball in the backyard. The boys were using a perforated plastic golf ball and a broomstick handle as a bat. The plastic golf ball was curving dramatically, which of course made the game fun and exciting, but it was difficult to throw effectively, right? So Mullaney immediately saw this opportunity. What if the ball, the size of a baseball, could be used that could curve easily? What if somebody as young as a kid could throw, imagine this, a curveball, a slider, a knuckleball without years of practice and without even really hurting your arm? Now listen, whether you're a young kid or adult, you keep throwing and throwing it hard, even if it is a wiffle ball, it can hurt your arm. But here was the thing, just to be able to simulate, I remember it to this day, and still it is a reality when you're this young as a kid, you're coming up, you're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. No, you don't want to ruin your arm, obviously, by throwing a curveball, but all you would have to do is flick your wrist and throw normally as you would do this and with this plastic ball, and you could really have some fun as a pitcher. Well, here was the case. The ball was light enough that ultimately it wouldn't be breaking windows or injuring players. Mulaney needed a job at the time, and he was looking for an invention that actually could become a business. So he began experimenting. He obtained hollow plastic spheres that originally had been intended, believe it or not, as perfume packaging, and started cutting different patterns into them. Together with his son, they tested design after a design, and they discovered that when one side of the ball contained a specific pattern of elongated holes, while the other side remained solid, the ball behaved in remarkable ways. And you look at the design, you look at a wiffle ball, and it's got these 8 holes up on the top half of the ball, and you've got the remaining bottom half of the ball that's solid, right? Well, the airflow over the ball created dramatic movement. Suddenly, anybody could throw a curveball and make it really kind of move, and boy, was this fun. A pitch could bend, dive, float, or rise. And the design, you look at it right now, this design of the wiffle ball is the same from the beginning as it is to today in 2026. And by the way, I'm going to mention this, the company is still private. It's still family owned. The owners are Dave and Steve, the grandsons of David. And originally, this obvious question came to be like, okay, what do we call this? What do we call this ball? What do we call this game? And hey, neighborhood kids often refer to a strikeout, and still the case today, as a whiff, right? So obviously because the ball moves so much, batters were constantly swinging and missing. Mulaney's family decided to name the product after that slang term. Originally, it was inspired by the word whiff, but the company dropped the H and trademarked the name Wiffle, Wiffle. And just like that, the wiffle ball was born. At first, David, the grandfather, the original owner, he sold the balls himself. He loaded them into his car and traveled around Connecticut trying to convince stores to carry them. The response early on was, real excitement, enthusiasm, and they sold out quickly. Kids loved them. Parents loved them. It was obviously inexpensive. It was lightweight. It was safe. Soon, another idea emerged. Of course, you needed a bat. Instead of a heavy wooden bat, Mulaney developed a long, thin, hollow plastic bat with the iconic yellow color. Many people today assume the skinny bat was just like, I don't know, a cost-saving move. But actually, listen to this. It solved several problems. The narrow, lightweight bat was easier for children to swing, right? It reduced the power of the hitter, right? Because it helped keep the game suitable for little small yards. And you know this, you played the game, right? It's evolved, obviously, into these big barrel bats. They're not wiffle ball bats. And despite ideas to the contrary, the company never really has moved in that direction. But you know, if you go out there, you can buy these different really with no holes in the plastic ball. and you really want to hit some long home runs, you can do it and you can play in your backyard. But beware, it's not safe in so many cases, right? So because the bat was hollow and plastic, right, like I said, it was safe. It became as iconic as the ball itself. You go into so many supermarkets throughout the country, especially here in the Northeast, especially as the spring comes upon us. It's a rite of passage that, yeah, you can see the display, the simple cardboard display with the wiffle ball bats rising up from the base of the box below, and then right up on top of that bat is attached to it in cardboard the actual wiffle ball. I mean, hey, it lasts for years. You look into any sports fan's garage and you'll see them both together. You can buy the plastic balls separately at any good sporting goods store. Today, Dick's Sporting Goods is out there. For years, I actually worked in one of the sporting goods that was big in the East Coast. It was called Herman's Sporting Goods. And, again, whether it's a supermarket, whether it's a sporting goods store, whether it's Target or Walmart, you can find wiffle balls, and it's still manufactured in this one location in Shelton, Connecticut, not far from Fairfield, Connecticut. They have very few employees, 12 to 20, and it's just this one location where everything is done. I mean, originally the success, it happened in the 50s, right? We talked about this. So it received patent protection, but the big breakthrough came in 1959. Yeah, if you've been around long enough, you know this name. Before there was Target, before there was Walmart, there was a huge retailer. They have a building named after it still. It's in New York City. This retailer by the name of Woolworths. Woolworths placed this huge order for wiffle balls. And suddenly it just wasn't a local thing in Connecticut. It was national. As of the recording of this episode here in late June 2026, we have Dave and Steve, still the owners of the company. Dave's 61, Steve is 59, and hey, Steve has a son named Steven, and despite, I mentioned this before, despite so many companies selling out, it's so wonderful to see that a family corporation, a mom and pop organization is still the same today as it was back in the day when it was started. Companies have looked to buy them out for so long. And, it really is heartwarming. It's an simple American success story. No question about it. And it wasn't advertising. It certainly was ingenious in terms of a great little invention, but it became famous because just kids that love baseball ended up playing out in their backyard. And you talk to any major league ball player out there today through the years, and they came up and they loved and they dreamed about becoming a World Series champ by hitting that little wiffle ball over into the driveway, into the neighbor's yard, over whatever fence, and the dreams became reality in their own mind. I was one of them. Hey, believe it or not, you may not know this backyard game today, it's evolved into this competitive sport. Yeah, their leagues have been developed. They got their own fields, their own rules, their championships, tournaments, and literally people have built their own miniature versions of famous ballparks in their own backyards. There's, like I said, there's national tournaments, there are broadcasters on TV, and players devote enormous amounts of time to master this game. Yeah, but ultimately, at the end of the day, at its heart, wiffle ball is still about having fun. It's simple. Grab a bat, grab a ball, and you know you're going to be able to be safe, and you know you can actually be a good pitcher. You could be a good batter. And it's baseball. It's the American pastime, and wiffle ball is no doubt part of that. Friends, thanks for taking me along with you on this journey, learning all about the Wiffle Ball, the game. Reach out to me at kevmok21@gmail.com. We have a Facebook group. We have a YouTube channel. Hit that plus button in the top right-hand corner to follow the podcast. We're getting podcasts out on the average of every couple days. Until next time, have fun and keep learning.